Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to another episode of the Iron Life Podcast. I am your host, Chris Tutela, and I have an amazing show in store for you today. My guest on today's show is my friend Jason Phillips. Now, Jason Phillips is a phenomenal nutrition coach. He is the owner of NCI, or Nutritional Coaching Institute. And him and I really had an amazing conversation today on everything nutrition, from optimizing your hormones to keto, to paleo, to intermittent fasting, to adrenal fatigue, stress, optimizing your sex hormones. We really covered a lot of ground in today's show, and I know you're going to get a lot out of it. So please have your pen and paper ready for today's show. There's so much information, so much value here today, and you are going to love it. But before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you a little bit about the Lean SOB project. Now, this is 6 weeks of online fat loss nutrition coaching for men. So this is a program where you get to work with me not only on your nutrition and really optimizing your nutrition, optimizing your health, melting fat off of your frame, building lean muscle mass, but also working on the right skill sets and mindsets that are required in order to see the change and the transformation that you seek. So you see, nutrition oftentimes gets looked at as, I have to follow this specific diet, right? And that is not what this is. In this program, I'm going to teach you nutrition principles that you are going to incorporate into your lifestyle, and we're going to make good nutrition work for you so you could see the changes that you want in a very healthy way and a very simple way. You see, we're going to do 3 things over the course of this 6-week program. We're going to simplify nutrition. We're going to structure your nutrition plan to your lifestyle and to your day. And finally, we're going to execute. That's where I'm going to hold you accountable with our weekly calls and make sure that you are following the game plan, that you're making progress. And if there's anything that we need to change, you and I are going to do that together. So because it's so detailed and because you're going to get so much one-on-one time with me, I could only take 10 people for this 6-week course. So if you are someone who is serious about melting up to 25 pounds of body fat off of your frame, getting healthy, optimizing your nutrition, and getting your mindset in the right state in order to see success and sustainable change, then I want you to head over to leansobproject.com and fill out an application today. If you are a good fit for the program, I will be in touch and we will set up a coaching call to discuss the program and to truly see if this program is a good fit for you. So head over to leansobproject.com if you would like to be one of the 10 guys in on this next course that begins in January. Now, here is my conversation with Jason Phillips. All right, Jason, welcome to the Iron Life Podcast, dude. It's really a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Dude, it is an honor. I'm excited to be collaborating and to be connecting. I know we've had a chat, but it's good to sit down and connect, bro.
Hell yeah, man. And I got a ton of questions here lined up for you today. So why don't we just kick this off with a little bit of a backstory and kind of tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So I guess today you'd say that I own the Nutritional Coaching Institute. I think for like the longest time, everybody saw me as like the top nutrition coach in the space, but I've kind of stepped on from that. I sold my nutrition coaching business back in January of 2020. And before the pandemic, which is crazy. So yeah, today it's all about NCI, man. Today it's all about creating coaches. And so, NCI has evolved. In the very beginning, we were the place for education and application. Now we're the go-to place for everything, inside of coaching, to where you get your education, where you get your application, and also how you grow your nutrition coaching business. And, I'd like to say in the last 12 months, we've put out more 6-figure earning coaches than any other entity out there, which I'm super proud of. So that is what I do. A couple things in the works on the side, but that's the main gig right now.
That's amazing, man. What made you shift from being a nutrition coach to now coaching coaches?
So I always said impact over everything, right? Like the one KPI of my life when I die is how many lives did I change? And I set out when I built NCI concurrent with my coaching business, I want to touch 1 billion lives. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to certify 1 million trainers, and each one of them hopefully is going to help at least 1,000 people, right? So you do the math, we're at 1 billion people. The simple truth was, I had a really successful coaching business, man. We were generating upwards of $3 million annually, pretty high net profit business. And we were only touching 1,200 to 1,400 people a year. And that's a lot of people, dude. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of people coming through your doors, but it's not 1 billion people. And so like when I looked myself in the mirror and I said, am I staying true to my commitment, which is impact over everything? Well, I wasn't maximizing my impact. And the only logical decision was go into a place where I can maximize my impact. And the things, it was a financial gain, they're completely full of shit, because this company, NCI at the time, wasn't even a $500,000 company. And my other company was grossing upwards of 3 million. So I gave myself, I don't know what that is, over a 80% pay cut. But I knew long-term, that's where I had to put my energy and passion. And man, it's been a really fun year.
That's amazing, man. Impact over everything. I love that. And that just drew you to now coaching. So how many coaches did you say you're now working with?
Well, we've certified, since NCI started, almost 4,000 coaches, in our various programs at any given time. I mean, when you come into NCI, you have lifetime access. So, I mean, our community just continues to grow and grow, and we're always helping coaches, in the business coaching side of things. I mean, we've got just shy of 200, but we're always putting the resources inside of our community, because again, it's a scenario when I'm not one of these like continuing education people. Like, you go to NASM and they're like, all right, you got a CEC this year and $100. Like, that's not my jam, man. Like you're in the institute, like you paid for your cert. Now just go fucking help people. Like that's why we all got into this.
That's awesome, dude. That's so awesome. And, speaking of, nutrition, we definitely have some nutrition coaches listening to the show. We have a lot of people who are just interested in improving their health, their nutrition, their fitness, all of that. So I guess we could start here too. I saw a quote that you posted. I guess it was a tweet that you posted on your Instagram a couple weeks ago, and it says, "With the introduction of so many diets into our world, why is obesity at an all-time high? Perhaps it's not. Perhaps it's time we consider that another diet is not the answer." And I absolutely love that. I wanted to see if you could touch on that a little bit and what you meant by that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a weird world, I get it, because we both market online, right? Like, and I think any coach has to acknowledge there's a level of marketing that you have to be proficient with to really scale your business. And business is a function of impact. If you don't understand the business side of things, you are leaving impact on the table. And so I think coaches should understand every facet of the game. But marketing and results are sometimes different, and so when you're naming your diet, right? Like when Kiefer came out with carb backloading. Well, why didn't he just say eat your carbs at night? Right? Well, it wasn't sexy to say eat your carbs at night, but calling it carb backloading allowed him to sell thousands of copies of a book, right? Why Bill Phillips, why didn't he just talk about 90 days to success? He had to call it body for life, right? The body for life challenge. So we're in this space where we have to name things. We have to do that. And listen, I get it from a branding perspective, but individuals, it's not sexy to say, listen, eat less calories than you burn, get enough sleep, drink enough water, eat enough protein, and stop fucking stressing all the time, right? Because that's the foundations of human change. Train, like resistance train, make sure that you're controlling your stress inputs and outputs, make sure you're sleeping enough, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're consuming enough protein, and make sure that you're eating in a calorie deficit if you want to lose fat. The end. Right. The end. And so everyone's like, but Jason, that's not sexy. No, it's not fucking sexy. And when you say that on a podcast, or you say that on YouTube, or you say that in your sales copy, everyone's like, oh, fuck you. Like, that's not sexy. And every overweight person wants to blame the fact that they're not losing weight on the fact that their diet, as you will, is not working. Well, no shit, it's not working. It was some sexed up thing that really probably has no real life application. So, I work with people all the time, and the few people that I still coach, it's very much like, yo, what are the principles that you want to build your future off of? When early on in my nutrition coaching career, one of the things that a lot of the industry, I think, took from me was I was very big on day one of defining non-negotiables. I said, like, what things just cannot change in your life? Like, do you need to have beer on the golf course with the boys on Sunday morning? Right? Is that a thing? Because if I tell you now you got to go golf with the boys on Sunday morning and they're all drinking and you're not, you're going to be fucking miserable. Right? Do you need date night with the wife on Saturday? Like, yeah, you probably do. Because if you're a miserable dickhead, she's going to leave you. Right? And so establishing all of these things, instead of immediately removing foods and removing calories, right? But really understanding the level playing field. And dude, I'll tell you an example. I had one girl, she's from Chicago. She needed, I'm going to put that in air quotes, right? But in her lifestyle, she needed to get blackout drunk Friday and Saturday nights. Like, and bro, I'm telling you, like, our phone calls every week were on Tuesday. The stories were great. Like it was story time every Tuesday. I look forward to that phone call. But that was like a non-negotiable for her. Like, I am going to go out. I'm going to be social. Part of me being social is getting blackout fucking hammered, eating everything in sight. Well, I tried for 6 months to get her to stop that. She wouldn't stop. So finally in month 7, I said, all right, I'm going to work with it. And I actually used this exact example as a case study in NCI as to how we overcame it and how inside of 3 months, we dropped like 28 pounds once I finally started working with it instead of trying to fight against it. And it wasn't some magical diet. It was understanding the principles by which she needed to live. And so I think more people need to stop saying, well, is it keto? Is it fasting? Is it vegan? Is it carnivore? Is it carb cycling? Is it blah, 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 right? No, it's none of those. They all work and they all don't work. It's a matter of, will you work? And you will only work when it's a process you can commit to. And that has always been my ethos in this space. I also think it's why I've been able to create a lot of success in the space.
Yeah. I mean, that makes so much sense. Right? I think so many nutrition coaches, including myself, early in my career, I would write out what looked great on paper. I would look at write out a diet for somebody, and then maybe it would work for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden they were no longer compliant, and I would always blame them. Say, what the hell is wrong with them? They're lazy. They're this or that. And it took me it was really a slap in the face when I realized it was a wake up call. Shit, this is on me. This is because I have not been giving them what they need, right? And I'm guilty of that. I think a lot of coaches are. Luckily, I've learned and I've evolved, and I think that's an important lesson for any coach that's listening to this right now, because, man, I made that mistake so many times. So I finally realized, hey, we got to work with people. People are not just going to change their lives and follow some type of bodybuilding prep diet for the rest of their life, right? It's unsustainable. It's not going to work. So I love that.
It's really funny that you say that too. Like, I remember, bro, when I first got into like the bodybuilding world, because there was a time where I was really into that. And I used to do competition prep for like a lot of people. And I remember one of the first quote unquote gurus I worked with, I remember he told somebody in my presence, he said, well, if you can't get used to eating tuna fish, you're just never going to be an elite athlete. And I was so young and I was so impressionable. And I was like, wow, really? Like, I actually believed it for a moment. And now, obviously at 36, I mean, fuck, dude, I was like 24, 25 at that time. Like, 10, 11 years later, I'm like, wow, what a fucking moron. But like the fact that, but here's the fucked up part about that. People are getting that advice still to this day. Right? Like, people are fucking saying stupid shit like that. I saw on Instagram this morning, a girl that I follow, complete smoke show, amazing body, like amazing physique. And I'm genuinely interested as to her dietary protocol, because I love seeing people achieve elite levels of conditioning, right? Maybe they're doing something slightly differently than how I've thought about it. So I'm such a student, right? And I saw her post like orange roughy is very difficult to get. And I'm like, I am instantly like wanted to fucking put my head into a wall. Cause I'm like, really? Like you're one of those fucking people? Come on. Like, but it was all good, man. I love the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So then what are some universal nutrition principles that most people will say most people should follow?
Um, okay. So there's a couple of things. There's four components that I think everybody needs in any plan. The first is a call to awareness. And I think this is super overlooked, right? 99% of people go into a diet or a dietary setting, and what do? They lay all of their facts on the table, right? Physical and physiological data, which is cool. Like that's great. Like my height, my age, my weight, right? All the things we need for Harris Benedict. And then, hey, here's my biofeedback. And I think I was one of the earliest people to bring biofeedback to the forefront. I got people really talking about that. That's great. I love that. Here's what that overlooks. The real question is, how the fuck did we get here today? Because if you know my history, I'm an anorexic, right? I was an anorexic at 18 years old. And so if you now put me in a restrictive bodybuilding diet today, do you think you're going to trigger anorexic tendencies? Absolutely you are. And I'm going to tell you, anytime that I try to achieve, even to this day, bro, at 36, anytime I try to achieve extreme body composition, it triggers anorexic tendencies. I have to be hyper aware of it. And so if you don't know that about me, it's not your fault that you're programming a certain way, but it is your fault for not asking. And, if you're 300 pounds today and you work out 5 times a week, great. Why the fuck aren't you losing weight? Right? What do we not know? Well, you might have tried keto. You may have, if you're a female, you were in college and some dickhead gave you Cytomel. And you have no idea that running T3, right, synthetic T3 in college could potentially shut down your thyroid, right? What's your dietary history? What's your lifestyle history? What is your relationship with food? What is your relationship and your outlook on this whole industry? What does all of this mean? There's a call to awareness that I think 90% of our industry is missing, that is honestly skewing the efficacy and the initial efficacy of any diet. I think over time, these things come out. But why aren't we just creating them on day one? So that's principle number one for me. Number two is education. I think that coaches are doing their clients a disservice by not educating them. And at NCI, we live by 3 words: education drives compliance. The more your clients understand why they're doing something, they're more likely to do it. If they just think that you're throwing shit against the wall and hoping something sticks, they're probably not going to do it. Number 3 is, like I talked about earlier, I call it desires, right? What are your non-negotiables? I think that has to be taken into account. And then number 4 is proper application. Don't move people into a diet. Take a diet and mold it around your individual, right? You have to apply based on an individual, based on their needs, their desired outcomes, who they are, what they've done. And again, it's always going to be diverse. Keto, I used to bash keto all the time, and I love to fucking poke fun at keto because the zealots are like, oh my God, you're such a dickhead. Calories don't matter. Just don't eat carbs. Like, no. Like, I love to fuck with them. But at the end of the day, like, keto definitely has application, right? This morning, bro, I put somebody on a keto diet. Like, we needed to reset their blood glucose. So I put somebody on a keto diet. So it's, application is truly the game. And that, really, that's why I built NCI, because there was mountains of education in the world, but nobody understood application. So I think when you have those 4 principles, man, awareness, education, desires, and application, I think everything can be successful.
Well, since you brought up keto, like, and there are some other, buzzwords and diets, paleo, intermittent fasting. So these things are so popular these days, right? And everybody's talking about them, and everybody's arguing about which method is better, and everybody wants to kill each other on social media, right? So in your opinion, who are these? Like, we could run through each of them if you want, or just kind of touch on them briefly. But who are these diets good for, and who are they not good for? Who should?
Why don't you take me through each diet, and I'll give you where I think the application lives.
Great. So let's start with keto.
Yep. So keto. So first of all, keto is really a longevity-based protocol, right? And so when I look at nutrition, I think 3 things. I think aesthetics, performance, and longevity. Like, and this is what I call the triangle of awareness, right? So if we had a visual, so if anybody's listening, you can't see, but if you're watching here, obviously, right? Aesthetics, like bottom part of the triangle, like bottom left part of the triangle, performance, top corner, like longevity here. And it's a great visual representation because if you navigate towards absolute aesthetics, right? Bottom left part of the triangle, you are maximal distance away from performance and longevity. So I view keto as a longevity-based diet, right? So if we navigate over here, bottom right part of the triangle, we are maximal distance from performance and aesthetics. Meaning, not saying you can't achieve maximal fat loss with keto. Of course you can, right? As a byproduct, some aesthetics will improve, but I don't believe it's the optimal way to get there. And science continues to support that, right? Peer-reviewed evidence actually shows carbohydrate-based diets are better for fat loss than fat-based diets. It's not a performance diet, right? Listen, the 90% of sports occur in a glycolytic setting. Glycolysis requiring glucose for fuel, right? I don't want to hear about like the minute pathways that fats can turn into glucose. I get it. Yes, they exist. No, it's not optimal. Please don't fucking bring that stupid shit at me, right? We don't want to be breaking down protein to create glucose. That's just highly inefficient. And we also know that lean muscle tissue is our most metabolically active tissue. So we're setting ourselves up for future disaster. Now, you get a lot of zealots that will be like, oh, well, I did keto and I PR'd. Well, no shit. You had an optimal hormone profile. You went into keto where you lacked the fuel for your event. So your body started calling on cortisol. My question is, have you been able to repeat efforts on keto? And the answer is always no, right? Ben Greenfield, I think he PR'd like an Ironman on Volek's 90% keto diet. But then if you listen to him, like just a month or two later, he looked at his lab work and his labs were fucked, right? Well, dude, he's a naturally healthy guy. He had plenty of cortisol. His HPA axis was in a great spot. So he was able to PR his Ironman. Dude, props to you, right? You should be able to do those things. So what is keto good for when we look at longevity? Well, controlling inflammation, right? Keeping insulin sensitivity maximized in short-term windows. In long-term windows, you actually see insulin sensitivity decrease, especially in females, but mostly controlling inflammation. Obviously like Rhonda Patrick with her time-restricted feeding, or you get into like the Dom D'Agostino's. They talk a lot about autophagy. Autophagy happens more in fasting, but but really, man, blood glucose control, longevity, inflammation control, cognitive function. Dude, if you want to live to be 120 years old, live in a cold, dark room, don't eat carbohydrates, and take long walks on the beach as your exercise, that is where I see keto fitting in.
Awesome. And now what about intermittent fasting?
So first of all, in its purest form, every single human being intermittent fasts, right? Like we do understand that. Like we don't eat while we sleep. So prolonged fasting or time restricted feeding or time restricted eating, whatever you want to call it. This is great. Again, inflammation control, blood sugar control, cell autophagy, right? So health. I categorize fasting as health. However, in your general population, most people that don't want to count calories, most people don't want to count macros. If I simply shorten your eating window, you're just going to eat less food. And that's a great way of calorie control. So to me, it becomes a mechanism of calorie control. Now, fasting is phenomenal for gut health, right? Prolonged fast, daily fast, once a week prolonged fast, really, really good for gut health. That's my primary use when I'm using it with clients. However, I will use it in terms of blood sugar control at times. And again, like maybe like twice a year, I'll do a prolonged fast. And that's really good for like the cell autophagy and really maximizing my longevity markers.
How long will you fast for when you do it?
Man, I'm a pussy. So the most I've done is 48 hours. But, if you look into like literature, like 4 to 7 days, man, a lot of people are doing it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just a giant pussy.
What's your results after 48 hours?
Honestly, man, I feel great. Mental clarity is super high. I never really check the scale because I'm not one of those guys that's trying to lose weight. So it's a little bit disheartening. So I really try not to do that. My gut health is way better coming back off of it. Energy is really good. That afternoon fog seems to go away. So anything health, like my sleep is a little bit better. Anything like all of my biofeedback markers get stronger. How about that? So like, I feel like my hormonal presence is stronger. Everything is better.
Got it. And is there any foods that you avoid when you're coming out of the fast, when you start eating
You
again?
know, 48, I've got really good gut health year round. So 48 hours doesn't seem to trigger me too much. Usually I will do some like my first meal back will be like a liquid based meal, like a broth. After that, I'm able to dig into it. If you're somebody where like your gut health really suffers, obviously you're going to want to stay away from like nightshades. You're going to want to stay away from like peppers and, I don't recommend a lot of fiber, probably keeping protein minimal in the beginning, something that's going to be fast digesting and foods that you're used to consuming, right? I think this is another blanket statement where our industry completely fucks up is everyone's like, oh, well, this is what you eat coming out of a fast. Really, motherfucker, if you've never eaten that before in your life, why are you going to introduce that after a fast? You're going to want to stay with things that are that you're used to.
Got it. Got it. And I guess finally, we'll touch on for the last one here, we could touch on carnivore.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be a popular one these days.
Dude, I'm going to be super honest with you on carnivore. I have done zero research because it's so asinine. Like I got asked to do a whole podcast on this and the whole podcast lasted 6 minutes because they were like, can you justify in any way doing this? No, I literally cannot. Like in no way does my brain compute that eating nothing but meat is a smart thing. Understanding the quantity, right? Like, because when we look at gut health, it's not just the types of foods, it's also the quantity of foods, right? It's the bolus portion that goes in the gut. Like, I don't see it. Now, again, I'm not against being wrong. I am super open to being wrong. Like one of the things I love about this space, like, you probably know Mike Boyle, right? Like he's an OG in our space. He always said, what I'm saying today is what I know to be the truth right now. Overnight, we could all be proven wrong and we would have to live by what science proves. To this day, I don't see any peer-reviewed literature supporting carnivore. In empirical data, I see nothing supporting it. I see a bunch of internet marketing zealots trying to capitalize on something that is so fucking asinine. And as with everything, it catches a little bit of fire and people want to fucking talk about it. Again, it's a great way of calorie restricting. Reduce 2 complete food groups, reduce carbohydrates and fats. You're creating a massive calorie reduction. Are you going to lose weight? Probably. But I don't think there's any magic to it. And I have nothing overly intelligent to say on it because I found it so ridiculous. I haven't wanted to research it.
Fair
and
enough.
I'm a research nerd. So like that says a lot.
I love it. I love it. So, okay, then. So let's say somebody listening to this right now is a dude in their 30s or 40s. They like to train, but they also want to prioritize health, right? We want to make that a priority. And what for somebody like that who is active and likes to train, what would you say is optimal, or what is an optimal way of eating for health and longevity, while still, wanting to look good and stay jacked and stay lean and stay strong and all that?
So first of all, you got to understand. So I'm a big fan of periodization, nutritional periodization. So I don't think that it's a perpetual pursuit. So I'm always going to ask you, where are we at in the year? I think everybody should have a time where they want to optimize amongst other times, right? And 99% of people can quickly identify that, right? You want to look good in the summer on the beach, right? That's most people. Okay, cool. Well, if that's the case, you have to understand you're probably going to be dieting like February, March, April, May, maybe March, April, May, June, right? Those 4 months. That's going to be your active diet, like really fine tuning things. So around this time, right? Because we're recording this in December, I really feel like you should be in some sort of like recovery phase. Right now, we should be looking at you like, all right, like you shouldn't be fat and sloppy, but you also shouldn't be peak shredded either. You should have enough food. You should be in a mild surplus. We should be optimizing your hormone levels. We should be controlling recovery. We should have you as close to optimizing homeostasis as possible. So remember that the whole subject of physical change comes down to 2 things: stress imposition, right? And subsequent adaptation. That's it. That is all physical change is. We intentionally impose stressors and then we try to facilitate a desired adaptation. So when we look at diet right now, we're trying to minimize stressors. We perceive there is no stress, there is no attack. I do not have to deviate from what is natural to me. Why do we do that? Well, that's when our hormone levels are going to maximize. That's when gut health is going to be its best, right? At homeostasis, where we are meant to live, that is where our body is optimized, okay? From that standpoint, or from that set point, Now we will facilitate adaptation. If you think about the very first time you ever dieted, how did it work? It was amazing, right? We all wish we could get the results that we had when we very first started trying. Why does that work? Because there was no underlying stress. We weren't trying stupid shit, right? We hadn't been stressing ourselves for weeks, months, years on end. So there should always be 4 phases to really optimize. What I'm talking about now is what I call my off season, right? Or my recovery season. The next phase would be like a little bit of pre-diet or pre-season if you're an athlete. And that's just like getting ready yourself, like mentally prepared. Because obviously you go to a holiday party, you drink, and you don't fucking worry about it, right? When you're dieting, March, April, May, June, well, if alcohol is in front of you and you really want to be shredded for the beach, you might have to think twice about that alcohol. So you have to actually mentally prepare yourself for that. Maybe start tracking your food, whatever it might be. March through June is what I call your active diet. And so that is where there are very specific rules, a very specific schedule. And then beyond that, it's what we call our post season. And this is actually getting our calories back up. We're reverse dieting, whatever it might be. This is the actual pursuit of getting you back to homeostasis. So how should the average 30, 40-year-old male be handling it? 1, they should be periodized. Number 2, if you're trying to stay lean, optimize health, and look good, food quality is going to be a very close, I'm going to call it a 1A to food quantity, right? All physical change is quantity first, period, the end. Come at me, all you fucking Gary Taubes people. Like there's extensive amounts of research out there. Food quantity wins, period, the end, right? But food quality is going to be a 1A. It's going to be like right there, neck and neck with it, because you can get shredded on pizza and Pop-Tarts. You can't optimize health on pizza and Pop-Tarts. Right. So if you want to be shredded and that's like your number one goal, but you want to be as healthy as possible in the process, you need to be making sure you're maximizing quantity, but also maximizing quality, which means controlling inflammation. Again, all the things we talked about biofeedback, like controlling inflammation, optimizing sleep, optimizing hormones, all of those things. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And speaking of inflammation, so what are some things that people should avoid? Let's just say, we know the obvious stuff, right? We know the processed refined sugar, flours and stuff like that. But how do you feel about grains? How do you feel about legumes? How do you feel about dairy? What are your thoughts on things like that?
So if you really dig into like the peer-reviewed evidence, you will see that it's completely varied, right? And I said, like, I'm a research nerd. Like, I love this stuff. What I've found with a lot of it is it's relative to your exposure. So dairy and gluten being the 2 biggest offenders in this category. I said once actually on stage at Google, and this is like, everybody loves this because I talk about creating your own lactose intolerance. Well, there's certain enzymes in the body that are non-resilient, and dairy and gluten happen to be 2 of them. So, bro, like you grew up, you probably had like cereal and milk for breakfast, right? Most kids do.
Cocoa
right?
Puff, baby.
So all of a sudden, yeah, delicious. So you get to like 18 and this paleo thing gets popular and you're like, oh my God, I'm having milk. Like I'm going to die. Right. And so all of a sudden you eliminate dairy from your diet. Well, like 8 years later, this Jason Phillips guy comes along and he's like, well, fuck paleo. Like they're wrong. Like you can have dairy. And you're like, oh, thank God I can have my Cocoa Puffs again. And so you have your Cocoa Puffs with milk, except this time, like you consume it and you immediately like run to the toilet and shit your brains out. Well, that had nothing to do with the milk. It had more to do with the fact that you cut milk out for 8 years, right? Because if you don't have dairy or gluten for a prolonged period of time, your body starts downregulating the enzymes responsible for them. And when you try to reintroduce it, your body sometimes will not upregulate those because they're non-resilient. They may not. So you might have actually created your own dairy and or gluten intolerance. And when you look at this, like evidence shows this to be true. If you think about 2007, right, at the very beginning of the paleo movement, there were very few discussions in the world of dairy and gluten intolerance. There was very little discussion around them being big dietary offenders. All of a sudden, you fast forward to 2012 to like 2016, you started seeing dairy intolerance and gluten intolerance talked about everywhere. And all of a sudden, it was showing up in virtually everybody you talk to. Like, I wanted to grab people and shake them. No shit, motherfucker, because you cut it out for 7 years. Like, you did that. right? And you didn't do it by your own knowledge. I don't blame you, but some jackass told you to do it and you did it. And that was really the big problem. Now, I think you're going to see in the next couple of years, I think you're going to see as much of a problem because education in the last 5 years has been a lot better, right? We're 2020, moving into 2021, 2016 until now, the education has actually been pretty good. There's a lot of fads and bullshit in the world, but education for the most part, I think is getting better. And so I think you'll start to see less cases overall of things like that. But you know what, man, it's really very individual. I think that one of the worst things we can do as an industry is start to take things like legumes and beans and lentils and say, this is bad or this is good. I actually have a fundamental belief that our industry labels things entirely too much. I think that more people should start to understand things and then try to apply context at a higher level. So I always avoid making blanket statements like that. I like people to really understand the background and then make informed decisions moving forward.
Right. Now, how about somebody who does have, let's just say they have whey protein every day, and they've been doing it for years, and they're still farting excessively. They're bloated, right? So there's some type of sensitivity there. What would you suggest then? Do they cut out dairy for a certain period of time and then?
Well, I mean, I would go on like an elimination diet, right? And see if we can't figure out the dietary offenders. I think that 90% of times you're dealing with a gut health issue, supplementation, a supplement like glutamine, or try a fast. And if that doesn't fix it, then yeah, I would immediately go to an elimination diet of sorts and see if we can't figure out what the offender is. I think whey protein is often overblown and the quality of whey comes into question. And this just goes into a whole nother rabbit hole, which is quality control in the supplement industry. But that is, that's definitely something I would, it's definitely an area I would explore in an individual like that for sure.
Got it. Okay. Now you mentioned stress. So somebody, let's just say they have a very stressful job, their lifestyle, they're under a lot of stress. They like to train. Now, I think we're in a society that's overstressed, maybe overtrained, under recovered. So what are some things that we have to consider within a person like that's diet in order to optimize their health, their performance, and just to kind of keep things in check?
Dude, this could be 10 hours long. I fundamentally believe stress is the biggest killer in Western culture, let alone the biggest dietary offender. I have clients, very high performing clients that eat exceptionally well because they have access to chefs and whatnot. And I'll have them test fasted glucose and we still see it elevated. And the only logical explanation is stress. I'll have them do, a 4-time cortisol test so we can look at how much cortisol, how much DHEA they're producing over the time. And we're seeing inverse cortisol curves. And these are people whose like training and nutrition are fucking dialed in because they have the money to be able to pay for it at the highest level. If it's happening there, man, I can only imagine what's happening at slightly lower levels. When I look at the training side of things in Western culture, we always live by like some is good, more is better, right? And thank you, CrossFit. But training modalities are at an all-time high intensity in Western culture, right? And listen, I'm guilty of this shit too. I would love to go into a gym for 60 minutes and Chris, tell me what the fuck to do and kick my ass for 45 minutes. So I only have to be there 45 minutes so I can get back to work, right? I'm a workaholic. I want to work 20 hours a day. I want to work 24 hours a day. If I didn't have to sleep, I wouldn't. So I would love to come in and if it only took 30 minutes to have the results and you just whoop my ass and I didn't care, I'd be all about it. And that's how most people look at training now, in, out, quick, effective. And CrossFit was a big mover of that needle. That's a problem, by the way. Most people, unless you're a high level athlete, you don't have time to consume adequate amounts of food, the right types of food, and you don't rest enough. Now let's take really high intensity training modalities and let's take it with just Western culture, what we know it to be. You outlined it perfectly. The average American, the average person listening to this, I promise you 9 out of 10 people listening right now don't sleep enough. If they're sleeping enough quantity, I bet you their quality sucks shit, right? They're not eating enough food. Let's just be honest. Most people undereat. It's actually the yo-yo dieting that's causing obesity, not prolonged caloric surpluses. I'll fight anybody on that all day, right? So they're not eating enough most of the time. When they do, when they finally eat adequately, it's like pizza and beer. They're living in a pandemic right now, which is stressful in and of itself. You're socially isolated. When you're not socially isolated, you got a mask on, you're freaking the fuck out because our world's just scaring you, right? When the world finally goes back to normal, you're going to be in a car and it's going to be like fucking white knuckle because everybody forgot how to drive. You get on a fucking plane, right? By the way, Boeing just puts their 737 Max back in the air, and you're like, I wonder if this is the one that's going to malfunction and die. You're going through airports where prolonged security lines. Like, I cannot think of any facet of life that has not become more stressful in 2020 than it was just 10 years ago, right? And that's foundational stress. And those are things that we don't look at as stress because it's a way of life. We just think that's how we live. The world is an intense place. And I agree. Like, it is very foundational. But the problem becomes when you're waking up with a stress cup on a scale of 0 to 10, when you're waking up at an 8, you only have 2 units left that you can intentionally put stress into your day. Well, 1, choosing to undertake a calorie deficit, that's a stressor. 2, choosing to train, that's a stressor. I promise you the 2 combined is probably taking you above a 10 already. At some point, your body was put on this earth to survive, thrive, and procreate. Nothing more. It wasn't put on this earth to be shredded. It wasn't put on this earth to deadlift 500 pounds. It was put on this earth to survive, thrive, and procreate. Insulate the organs, keep that heart beating, and be able to, have a baby. And that's it. So when we're intentionally moving ourselves physically, at some point, our body's like, whoa, pump the brakes. I need to be able to survive, thrive, and procreate. So what does it do? Well, it slows down its metabolic processes, because if you give up fat, now you can no longer insulate organs. It inhibits your ability to produce output. Now, all of a sudden, you're weaker. You have less energy. Why? Because if you're stronger, you're breaking down more tissue than it can recover from. If you have more energy, you're exerting more calories than it has. It will have to, at some point, give up and oxidize fat. So it reduces those things. All of these compensations are very natural. These should be happening, right? And we as human beings have just been conditioned to move through them. Oh, just be stronger than your excuses. Like, I get it. Like, at some people, yeah, like they make excuses, but some people need to learn to listen to their fucking body, right? And it's that fine line. It's that dichotomy. And to me, that's where coaching really comes in. A good coach will really help you understand what that looks like. But dude, I mean, I could go on a rant for days about stress. One thing we haven't talked about on here, I have a whole supplement line debuting, and I just launched my first one like 3 weeks ago. And it's a adrenal support supplement, right? The whole foundational series of my line is stress management. First product is adrenal support. The second one is evening cortisol control and rest. And the third one is mood enhancement, right? 3 things that will support controlling stress levels in your life. And I believe if you're not taking these, you have no business taking a pre-workout. You have no business taking any of these other things, because you don't have a foundational level of health. So now your pre-workout to get a better workout is only exacerbating the underlying distress that your body's already going through. So yeah, man, we could go for days. You just tell me where do you want to go.
Well, hey, congrats on the supplement line.
Thank you,
It's so funny because, anytime you start working with a new client, what do they ask you? What's a good pre-workout that I could take, right? I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. They're always asking and looking for the latest and greatest pre-workout supplement that they could take. I'm like, dude, look, you're working all day. You're sitting behind a desk. You're stressed. The last thing that you need is a pre-workout supplement. Like, we got to talk about bringing those stress levels down. Like, I know you're excited about training and all that, but a pre-workout with all that caffeine and all the other harmful shit in there, that's the last thing that you need, and the last thing that most people need.
Dude, amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Like, you got to remember, those are synthetic forms of stress.
Right.
They're synthetic forms of stress designed to facilitate a response. The end.
Right. And so I guess since we're on the topic and you brought up, cortisol and all that. So we're also in a society that now males are seeing a lot of cases of low testosterone. So what are some things that guys can do to, one, maybe prevent their testosterone levels from plummeting? And if they are low, what nutritional protocols can we take to elevate those levels? And I know
this is a really good one. There's 2 things here. So degree and duration is what I'm going to speak to. Number one, how tanked are your testosterone levels? Are you subclinical or are you clinically low? If you're clinically low, I've seen very few, I don't want to say none, but I've seen very few people ever naturally come back.
And Jason, before you move on, I just want to hop in for a second. So what is the difference between
Yeah.
subclinical and clinically low, just for everybody listening?
So when you go to a doctor, your standard reference range on a testosterone lab is going to be like 200 to 800, which is a really big range, by the way. And a doctor, unfortunately, in Western medicine, they're going to look for like 240, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, you're normal. You're in the reference range. Like that's what we call subclinical, right? If you're at 240, chances are you feel like shit. And you're exhibiting symptoms of being hypogonadal, meaning you're clinically low. So anything under 200 will classify as clinically deficient. But 201, nope, you're not, right? According to Western medicine, that's subclinical. I have seen people be able to optimize from subclinical spots. Clinically deficient, I have very rarely seen. I don't want to say never, but like honestly, dude, it's been like 2-3 cases that I've ever seen. Me being one of them. You know, when I was anorexic, dude, and I was 18, I became clinically deficient. I've never been able to, without hormone replacement, optimize.
Wow.
Subclinically, now we're talking about massive stress management. I'm talking super low intensity activity. I'm talking sleeping in a cold, dark room, eating high fat diets, right? Because high fat, obviously fat, you know, cholesterol being the precursor to testosterone, 4-stage conversion in the human body. Lots of dietary fat, lots of inflammation control, and lots of stress reduction. But, you know, supplementation wise, I wouldn't say we found anything great naturally. You know, the bros will always resort back to like Trib and man, like what else was really popular back in the day? Like D-aspartic acid had some promising research at one point. There's no OTC supplements that I've ever really seen proven to be effective. Not peer reviewed long enough, right? There's moments of brilliance here and there with individual ingredients, like coma was really popular for a long time. Long Jack extract was really popular. You know, I remember just by the name, horny goat weed was really popular. Nothing has ever proven long term to actually work. So you know, if you're subclinical, it's more lifestyle and dietary than it's going to be any sort of supplementation. If you're clinical, now you just got to weigh the pros and cons of lifestyle versus hormone replacement. I went the hormone replacement route. You know, obviously, one of the biggest risks is lack of fertility, but I got a beautiful 3-year-old daughter, so I was one of the ones to get through that. And I knew that right away. I knew when I went HRT, I wanted to maximize fertility. So in my HRT protocol, I don't just use test. I also use Arimidex, and I also use you know, HCG. So I've always maximized natural output as much as I did exogenous output.
Got it. Now you mentioned high fat. Would you suggest like a keto, or would you?
So I wouldn't suggest keto. Unless you're literally like that person I described earlier, where you're in the cold, dark room, you have no stress. So you have to remember that the cortisol is also in. So testosterone and cortisol are both part of the HPA axis, right? The hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, right? So all of your hormones come into that cascade. Well, the primary driver there is going to be cortisol. And if you're experiencing any amount of stress and you're on keto, you're not really getting the shutoff valve to cortisol. Carbohydrates or insulin is the shutoff valve to cortisol. In fact, I mentioned Kiefer earlier in carb backloading. The whole premise, if you read his book, was that growth hormone stays elevated and cortisol, cortisol being a catabolic hormone, stays elevated throughout the day. His theory was if you had protein and fat, that was muscle sparing, and so the cortisol would attack the body fat. Really fucking skewed science. I mean, damn, did he have to take like a really roundabout way to get there? Don't believe it at all. But that being said, like that was the premise, right? The shutoff valve to stress or to cortisol being insulin. So trying to optimize testosterone levels are, again, too much under attack, excessive levels of cortisol, not enough recovery, combined with, you know, whatever else is happening in the HPA axis. So no, I would not go full-blown keto. I would just have a much higher percentage fat diet.
Got it. Okay. To shift gears for a second, because I want to
Yeah.
be mindful of your time here, but
Yeah, dude,
I
anything.
do want to touch on gut health.
Yeah.
So what are some things that people could do to really optimize their digestion and their gut health?
So the fastest things, man, like a periodic fast, always adequate. You know, a lot of people experience gut health symptoms purely from lack of hydration. Anybody, you know, I used to have a lot of physique competitors. You'd be like, oh, I'm bloated today. Well, what was your water? Like, oh shit, I didn't drink enough. Get your fucking water intake back up, right? You got to remember, every gram of carbs requires 2.7 grams of water to move it. So if you're consuming a large amount of carbohydrates, you're not consuming adequate amounts of water. Well, the carbohydrates are looking to transport. That's where some of that bloating feeling comes from. And that's for a lot of people. But if we're really getting into gut health issues, you know, we're talking initially like just small supplementation. You know, like glutamine 4 times a day is great. Like 20 grams of glutamine a day, 5 grams AM, post workout, and PM are all great ideas. Elimination diet is almost always my go-to, like right away. That's where I would start anybody. Honestly, anything beyond that, I 100% tell people get a coach, even if it's a short amount of time. Don't go like if gut health can go the wrong way faster than it can improve. And it's not something that you want to let spiral out of control. I've watched after athlete completely do it to themselves. And by the way, there's a reason that we're seeing a prevalence of gut health issues today, and everybody wants to attribute it to food quality. I'm going to have you consider that it's just as much attributed to the stress in Western culture and the training modalities, right? So CrossFit really brought gut health to the forefront. Again, 2007 and on, look at how much more gut health is being discussed extensively, right? Number one, we now understand the role of the gut microbiome, right? Which is awesome. It's extensive, you know, and fantastic literature, fantastic things for us to get. But number two, when you're starting to see more people doing lactate-based training, we have to understand lactate has to flow through the gut before it can exit the body, and it wreaks havoc on the gut. So now we're seeing people just from their training protocols alone with compromised gut health, not even doing all the other things correctly. So that rolls into the whole stress adaptation cascade as well. But in terms of solving it, man, like elimination diet is usually going to solve 90% of issues.
So like a simple paleo AIP might be
Yep.
something.
Yeah. Paleo AIP is my preferred, actually.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
And what is the role of glutamine?
So glutamine is just going to help heal the epithelial cells, like in the gut.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Great. That's awesome stuff there. And what about as far as, you know, sauerkraut and fermented foods in the diet and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, that's always a good thing. Again, this is where I'm like, talk to a coach to really understand, because I don't want to make blanket statements. Should you have probiotic based foods pre-gut health issues? Yes. I'll also say this though, some people with gut health issues, they don't have the gut flora to handle heavily high probiotic foods like sauerkraut, right? And that can almost exacerbate the gut issues. So I don't want to make a blanket statement that anyone that's experiencing gut health issues should immediately jump to that. In general, those are a fantastic idea, especially for healthy people, to offset gut health issues.
Got it. So if your gut health is already wrecked, it might
It's
not
already
be
compromised. Don't
right.
just immediately resort to that.
Got it. Okay. Good stuff, man. And you know, I do want to talk to you about coaching for a second too.
Yeah.
So what are your, as far as being a good nutrition coach, what are some keys here for people listening, anybody that's a nutrition coach or a coach in general? What are some top keys that you might have to really be a good, successful coach?
Man. First and foremost, I think it needs to be said today, be able to create really good results. Like the end, be really good at what you do. And I don't think there's enough emphasis on that today. I think that there's a lot of people like, oh, get into online coaching because you can make a buck and this and that. Like, I really think you should become a master of your craft. You know, I was like, my early claim to fame was that I was one of the first people to go to CrossFit and be like, you guys are a bunch of fucking idiots using paleo for a high output sport. Right. And because I was so strong in my convictions, like I knew that I was right about that. And I was very good at what I did. And so when I went there and I made such a bold statement, but I backed it up with my results, I mean, that's how I was able to build a multi-million-dollar business. And so now I think there's a too much emphasis on the finance of it all. So first and foremost, I think be really good. Second of all, like love what you do. If you don't love being a coach, don't be a fucking coach. Like there's lots of ways to make money. Don't be a coach. But coaching involves human connection, right? You have to love to connect with people because people don't buy your knowledge, they buy you, right? They need somebody to connect to. Dude, everything we talk about with our clients, it's on Google. We're not that smart, right? It's all on fucking Google. But people are buying that human connection. So if you don't love people, don't be a fucking coach because people need you, right? I would argue those two things can change everything. If you want to talk into getting into business practices, we can go down that rabbit hole too. But I think to be a really good coach, those are what you really have to have.
Love it. Love it. Now you have several successful businesses.
Yeah.
Do you have any productivity tips for everybody? Do you have a morning routine, an evening routine, anything like that?
I'm probably the worst person to ask here. Like, do as I say, not as I do. I'll say this. Don't pander to anyone else's routine. Be willing to walk your own line. I think that the more, I always tell the story and I always try to be like lighthearted and make a joke, but like, Eric Thomas, right? The hip hop preacher. Yeah. And I used to listen to him when I was first starting, like I was super broke and I was like, trying to get inspiration from anywhere. And he's like, you got to get up at 3:30 because, your boy's getting up at 3:30 and Donald Trump's reading the newspaper at 3:45. And I was like, okay, cool. I got to get up at 3. So like I set my alarm and I woke up at 3:30 and I went and I sat on the couch and I was like, now what the fuck do I do? Right. And I was like, I might as well go back to bed because I don't know what the fuck to do. So like, I think that there's all these people out in the world that are like, you got to do this and you got to do this and you got to do, and it's like, yeah, like it's well-intentioned, but try to understand why they're doing those things. I mean, bro, if I'm being honest, I wake up now at like 4:45. I work until about 6 when Starbucks here opens. I go get a coffee. I come back. I work hard till like 9:30, 10 o'clock. My day really starts at 11 where I'm doing like that's so everything I need to do to grow my business happens before 11. From 11 until about 5, that's keeping my business moving forward. And then after 5, it's workout time, it's golf time, it's family time. And then if I get into bed at night and I want to do work, I do work. If I don't, like zero fucks given. I think way too many entrepreneurs judge themselves for what they are not doing. And that lack of self-awareness, that self-judgment is what's been plaguing you your whole life. So like, let that shit go. Gary Vee always talks about being massively self-aware. I believe that through and through. But I also think there's a stigma out there that you have to do certain things. And I don't believe it. Like I'm living proof. I've done things quote unquote wrong by industry standards this whole time, but I'm one of the few that seems to have figured it out in our space. So it's, I'll always walk my own line and listen, entrepreneurship is lonely at times. You understand that. Like it's really lonely at times. So you got to be willing to go all in on yourself.
Dude, I love that, man. Jason, this has been amazing. I actually can't wait to go back and listen to this episode on the way home, man. I'm really, this was so much information, so much knowledge. Where could everybody find you? How could they work with you? How could they get in touch with you? All that.
Yeah. Stuff. Easiest way is just hit me up on Instagram at Jason Phillips is nutrition. I always do this, man, podcast I go on, just reference Chris's show and, I will hook anyone up with half off of NCI. All of our courses out there, we've got level 1, level 2, hormone, mindset, gut health, thyroid, male hormone, female hormone, coaching mastery, you name it. You guys want it. Chris is an OG in the space. He's doing amazing things. And so I want to reward you guys that are following his community. So just hit me up. Happy to give you half off, but more importantly, man, ask questions. I asked questions of everybody as I was coming up in the space. I asked questions of every mentor I could get to. And I'm in a position now where I feel like I can provide good advice. So please don't hesitate to reach out, ask your questions. I may not get to it that same day, but I am the only one that answers DMs on my phone. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I love adding value. So just hit me up. Let's chat and let's see how I can help.
Awesome. Jason, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you do. And I think everybody's going to get a lot out of this episode. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to come on. And thank you so much, man.